Okay, I'd like to start our discussion of Number the Stars. I hope you've read it. If you haven't, please do. It won't take, it's not that long of a read. First thing I want to do is familiarize you with the places they're talking about in the book. So here is Copenhagen, and where they went to get Ellen and her family out of the country, where they were pushing Jews across the border, across this strait, was right up here, because this is the most narrow place to do that. The reason, if you look, this is Kattegat right here, this area, this is the bay. What Hitler wanted was Germany is right down here, and they owned, this was all German land. Hitler wanted free access to the North Sea. He didn't want Denmark to bother him. Now, to get there, he needed this strait, the Baltic Sea, and then up to the North Sea, and that's why he wanted that them out of the way for that. Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland had already pledged their neutrality. They wanted nothing to do with World War II. However, they got involved because Hitler invaded Denmark. When King Christian X scuttled their naval fleet right in here, he scuttled it right in this cove, which prevented, then the Germans had to come around. They tried to get them out in their ships out into this passageway right here as far as they could when they sunk them, to try to block some of the waterway if at all possible, and especially the mouth of this bay right here, so the Germans couldn't just sail their ships right up into this bay, which is exactly what the U.S. Navy tried to do when Pearl Harbor was being attacked, was to get as many of their ships at least to the mouth of the harbor as they could before they were sunk, to clog up the harbor so other ships couldn't come into the harbor. So, saying all that, this is Sweden over here, this is Denmark, and Germany down here. And right up here in this tiny little spot, the closest place, that's where Anne Marie's mother took Anne Marie and Ellen and Kirsty, and where they met Anne Marie's or Ellen's parents up here, and then got across on Uncle Heinrich's boat across this small strait. Another piece that I want you to look at here is um, this is a picture of King Christian X. I've uploaded, this is one of the read alouds I would have done, and adding to that, it would have been a think aloud as well, is The Legend of the Yellow Star, the King Christian X. This is a picture of King Christian X coming through um, Copenhagen during the war, and all of the people, he had no bodyguard. The book says he had no bodyguard. The people of Copenhagen were his bodyguard. He didn't need a bodyguard. They had no, their navy was small. There's a country that's small. They didn't, they had no enemies, no natural enemies. He didn't feel he needed a bodyguard. He was a much loved monarch. And it states that in the book quite clearly in several places. Some of the background that you need to know when the navy in Copenhagen, when King Christian X scuttled the navy, it was 1943. You have to, when you're teaching these kinds of things, you need to know some of the history of what's going on during this time. The war, as it were, had not necessarily come to them, in as much as, yes, they were occupied by German troops. There were German troops around, but they really hadn't bothered a whole lot of people, except they were out and about, and people, things were rationed because they couldn't get stuff in. But the Germans were not yet rounding up Danes to the extent that they're talking about what's happening in the book. Now, in 1943, this was March of 43 when the Danes scuttled their navy. Yes, I've done my homework. World War II started in Europe on September 1st, 1939, when Hitler ordered the Nazis to invade Poland. He had just signed a non-aggression pact with Poland, and he broke that non-aggression pact almost the minute he signed it, and that was September the 1st of 1939. So basically the war in Europe had been going on for almost 4 years before this book is set in Copenhagen, Denmark. So yes, there was rationing. No, they couldn't get everything where they needed it. But the first that is really noticed of the roundup of Jews is when Anne Marie's mom sends her to the button shop, and Mrs. Hirsch isn't there. The button shop is closed, and they find out that they are nowhere to be found. And then they realize what's going on. And if you read the end of the book, you'll see that yes, it is historical fact that the rabbis, who are the religious leaders of the Jewish synagogues of their churches, called their congregations together and said, you need to find a way to get out, because people they are rounding up Jewish people. So that's a little bit of the background of the story. There's a lot in this story. We're going to talk about a lot of it. We're going to do a lot of activities. Some of it I can do this way. If you've noticed, this is a bit different. I have learned how to use, I've worked on various and sundry things, and I've learned how to use Screencast-O-Matic, and I couldn't get my camera on my laptop to work here at home. And I thought, well, there's got to be figure it out. So I started messing with stuff and got into the settings, and I finally found it, and it said it was on and whatever, and it wasn't. So I reset it because I figured I had nothing to lose. It wasn't working anyway, and voila, I now have the camera working and recording as well. But in doing this, there are a couple of things that I'm still going to have to upload with videos that are going to take hours to upload. The beauty of this, if you're not familiar with Screencast-O-Matic, it'll only allow you to record up to 15 minutes, but it's only recording your voice over whatever pictures or PowerPoints or whatever you put up on the screen. So it only takes about 5-10 minutes to upload to YouTube, and on we march. So I want to put this up there as background. If you're doing background for Number the Stars, one of the things you could do, you have to activate the background knowledge, and that's the first place we're going to go. And the next video, we're going to talk about an anticipation guide, which is a background activating piece. But one of the best ways to do this would be with a KWL. What can you tell me about? But it's going to have to be, if you're talking about Number the Stars, it's going to have to be specific to Denmark, to World War II and Denmark. This is a story during World War II, but it's told from a completely different perspective. It's not dealing with directly, indirectly, yes, but directly not with the Holocaust or what's going on in Germany or what's going on in Italy or what's going on in France. This is a completely different piece of a country who wanted to remain neutral. Sweden did. The Germans never invaded Sweden. So Sweden has always maintained its neutrality. Denmark tried, but it was right between those two seas, and Hitler wanted control of both of them. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I'll get this posted, and you can expect to see a lot more coming. But like I said, I'm gonna have to video the old way for a couple of the strategies because I need to do them on my wall while I videotape. I can't do them here. But I'm going to talk you through some. I've desperately tried to find and download a lot of the stuff that I would have handed out in class. I have found a lot of it. For a lot of it, I've had to use some. I've had to be creative and use a little different things, and I'll talk you through them. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. If you've not read the book, please do. It won't take you that long to read it. It's a fairly quick read, but it is loaded with information. Um, I would, if we were doing this in class, I would ask you to keep track of vocabulary. But since we're doing it this way, I'm gonna do the vocabulary strategies. I'm gonna do them for you, but I want you to know that you can take them and run with them in your own classroom. But I want you to at least see the strategies in action. I want you to see how these can be done. And I have plenty of examples. I have uploaded gobs of stuff now to Blackboard. I will continue to upload to Blackboard, and I have a big file of stuff on my laptop, and I will continue to do that, and I will start pushing it all up to the top as we go. So I will talk to you later. I hope everybody's healthy and happy. Wash your hands, use your hand sanitizer, and don't hoard the toilet paper. And I will talk to you later. Bye.